Hi guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me and congrats on the series. I got to
Hi,
screen it last night and it was really cool.
Oh, great.
thank you. Great.
My first question is for Jessie. So Alina's going through a lot, to say the least. But I think one of the struggles that spoke to me, especially as an Asian American viewer, is that she's facing discrimination because for being half Shu. So I was wondering if you could talk about playing that nuance to her and the character, and what it was like getting to bring Asian representation to the YA fantasy series. I mean, fantasy genre, especially since a lot of Asian girls and boys still don't get to have a role model to look up to in the genre. And so, what was it like getting to do that?
Well, when I was growing up, I rarely saw anyone who looked like me on screen. So, I mean, I'm so proud to be able to, for the 13-year-old me who's out there somewhere who can watch Alina growing and being the center of the story and having so much power. I'm really excited for young people generally, but specifically Asian young Asian people at the moment, given everything that's going on. And it was really, I feel like it added so much to the character, having her face so much discrimination growing up, and it really shaped her personality for me and for the writers. She's told every day of her life that she looks like the enemy, and that changes who she is. We know that she can stand up for herself, and she is really strong, and she obviously has this innate power, but she's also gentle, and she's scared, and she's vulnerable because of it. She's softly spoken because every day she's told it's the enemy, so she's saying no, I'm not. And so much of her motivation to save Ravka is because she needs to prove that she is a good person and she's not the enemy. So it was really lovely to be able to have such a reason and motivation that was rooted so much in reality and things that I had experienced.
I like that they didn't gloss over it because, like, a lot of fantasy series will like they'll be diverse, but they won't mention it. But I like that it's actually showed what she struggles with. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And Archie, so far fans have only seen the teaser trailer, but like online on Twitter, there's already like a bunch of like edits and memes, and people are really excited about the show. And I for one am Team Mal too. So um, so can you talk about did you ever feel any pressure stepping into the role of Mal, and how excited were you to get to be him, and especially since with all the fanfare around the
Yeah, I mean,
series?
I was so excited to play Mal. In terms of pressure, I didn't really feel much. Me, just as a person, I just sort of take things as they come. When I didn't really know what I was getting myself into when I was first looking at Mal, and what are you laughing at, Ben?
Which was
Sweet man.
But yeah, from like Twitter, I saw like a lot of people are, Mal's kind of like Marmite. They either like love him or you hate him, and
Uh,
he gets a lot of stick on Twitter. I've seen. So I guess I didn't feel as much pressure as maybe some of my other castmates whose characters are absolutely adored. But yeah, I just wanted to inject it with some heart, love, and courage and bravery, and like me as a kid, I love seeing that in characters. That's what excited me. So yeah, hopefully I'll do the same.
yeah. And Ben, quickly, same question for you. Did you feel any pressure coming to the series, especially since the Darkling? I know people either love him or hate him. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, played characters from a lot of book series before, and so I know you can't always kind of please everybody, but I think, what I would say to the book fans is they won't find a group of people who are more passionate and considerate and caring and loving in terms of our, bringing these stories to life. And we had the author on set, kind of helping us, but we've all tried to make these characters as human as possible because at the end of the day, it's a fantasy show and it's an adventure and it's exciting, but it's about people finding their identity, finding their place in the world, and that makes sense to a lot of people, I think, after the year we've all had.
Mm-hmm. Well, you played a good villain, but I'm Team Mal, so sorry. Thank you guys again. That's all the time I have left, but thank you guys again. Hi guys, how's it going?
Great,
Hey,
thank
Raffy,
you.
thank you.
Hope
How are
you're
you?
well.
I'm well. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for taking the time out to talk to me. I love the show, and I thought you three were hilarious, and you deserve your own show just to get into that.
Oh, thank you.
So.
That's very kind.
My first question is for Kit. So, there's
Mhm.
been a lot of film and TV adaptations of like fantasy and YA novels, and it's still very
Mm,
exciting to see explicitly queer characters featured and
yeah,
included, especially since Jesper's in the main cast. So, I guess
yeah.
I wonder if you could talk about what it was like playing that nuance to Jesper and getting to bring queer representation to the fantasy genre.
Well, what's really exciting about the show, actually, because of these characters were in a prequel. Um, we don't have not everyone kind of has their the partner that they will end up with yet, and my person hasn't yet arrived in the show, so we get to discover that. And for some people who don't know the books, that may just be a surprise for them. And what I really love about the show, whether it's queer representation or race or the kind of gender dynamics, is that like none of these things are kind of you know outside the norm. They are given. Like no one who has a queer relationship is looked down on for it. It's not a secret thing that has to be kept hidden away. It's just people are who they are, and they do what they do, and people take note of it. And it's as simple as that. I think it's really beautiful to just have a show where people are who they are, and it doesn't have to be a big statement, and that itself is a really positive statement, I feel. And so every all the kind of intimacy that we had in the show, and the conversations we had were they had tremendous care, and I think the best intentions.
Well, it's nice to see Jesper get intimate too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Thank you.
and yeah, Amita, Inez was such like a badass, and I love how she doesn't take anyone's shit. And Kaz and Jesper treated her as an equal part of the team, and as a friend. And there's still so many fantasy movies and shows where women have no voice or agency, and Inez was like a subversion of that. So I was wondering if you talk about what it was like getting to portray her as a woman, and how much did you enjoy it?
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If anything, I don't think I could have enjoyed it any more. And it's a really good question, especially as a brown actress in the industry. I never thought I would be gifted with such an opportunity to celebrate race and celebrate being a woman and celebrate a character that really demands honesty and equality, and a character that is willing to walk away when she doesn't get it without sacrificing anything for herself. And I really, and in terms of who Inej is, aside from the killing, she's someone I really aspire to be. And I think Inej is a voice of teaching people their self-worth, because I think that's something that can very easily be forgotten. And to have that for 6 months, I learned personally myself a lot as well. So it was, for me, it was just a celebration throughout the whole thing.
Brown girls rise up.
Yeah.
And just to wrap things up, Freddie, Kaz was like the planner of the squad, and I feel like you three, like I mentioned, had such great chemistry with each other. I would totally watch a show that was just Kaz, Inez, and Jesper pulling heists, like hooking up, getting into crazy wild antics. So I'm wondering if you talk about, I guess, just building their chemistry and their friendship with Amita and Kid, and how much did you enjoy each other's company, like on set, and like what it was like working with each other?
You're right, because the dynamic is so important between them, and we were off to a really good start because we all got on really well from the get-go, and we were all massive fans of the books, so we could all just spend our time geeking out about how much we loved the books and the characters, and kind of we had sort of long discussions about fan theories and basically like fan fiction authors of our own, sort of coming together. So we sort of had a really good time diving into the world together, and then I think that sort of bonded us together and helped with the on-screen dynamic that you're talking about.
Well, it was such a joy to see on screen, and if I was part of the series, I want to be like the part of the squad too. That'd be so fun to join.
Oh yeah,
You're in.
Come join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Choose your
Send
weapon.
the crows. Thank you.
If you need a stable boy or something, you got me.
Oh, okay.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Well,
Okay.
that's all the time
Thank
I
you,
have
man.
left. But thank you guys so much again.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Raffy.
Hi guys, thank you so much for taking
Hi.
time out to talk to me.
Thank you.
Congrats on the show. I really enjoyed it. I got to screen it in advance, so congrats again.
Great.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah. My first question actually is for Leigh, just to start. So I guess the world of Shadow and Bone is very diverse, but what I appreciated about it the show is that it didn't like gloss over or sanitize those differences that people have, like a lot of other like fantasy shows do. Alina is actually like frequently discriminated against because she is half Shu, and I was wondering if you could talk about the intentionality of that, especially given how timely it is with like all the anti-Asian hate and how Asian representation is still more important than ever now. So if we could just talk a little about that.
Yeah, when Eric and I first sat down together, one of the things I wanted to do was to make sure that that both the cast and the people working behind the scenes would be a diverse and inclusive crew. And we agreed very early on that Alina being mixed race and being half Shu would frankly make the story better. This is a girl who grew up on the borders in the books, and borders are not walls. People in border areas, especially for two countries that are in conflict, they have businesses together, they have romantic partnerships together. And the idea that a young woman who looked like, quote unquote, the enemy would be the person to save this country, we thought was a very powerful one.
Well, speaking as an Asian American viewer myself, it was nice to see, because it's still not often we get to see like an Asian person like in a lead role, especially in fantasy. So I appreciated that.
Well, we were very lucky to find Jessie as well. She's an extraordinary actress and brought so much power and optimism and beauty to the role.
Thank you for that. And Eric, the Grishaverse was obviously already like a wildly successful book series. So what drew you to it, and what made you want to bring it to television for Netflix?
Whenever I take on an adaptation, my love for that material has to exceed my love for original ideas that I have cooking. And it is rare. It is like 1 in a million that I run into that experience. It happened with Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang first, and then it happened here again with the Grishaverse books by Leigh. So my intent here was to try and get as many people to pay attention to Leigh's books as possible, and a show seems to be a good way of doing that.
Well done.
I've seen on Twitter like there's only been like a teaser trailer so far, but already fans like have made like edits and fan cams, and they're excited. So I'm sure. And this is a question for both of you, actually. This might just be me watching through like a queer lens, but I think one of my favorite themes explored in the show was like being persecuted and judged for who you are, which is something a lot of LGBTQ people can relate to. So can you talk about exploring those themes and the intentionality of that, and why was that so important in this series to highlight in Shadow and Bone? Whoever wants to start, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll start a little bit just because I want to give love to my writing team. I have a writing team full of people with quite diverse experiences and backgrounds, and whether that's ethnicity or sexuality. And so many aspects of the characters here, they had a close connection with. And it was their voice that they got to then carry through into these characters and mingle with them in a way that allowed them to tell a little bit of their own story while talking about the story of whether it's Inej or Jesper or Alina. And it was my job just to get out of their way.
When I was writing Shadow and Bone, I've been very candid about the fact that it's a very, or at least starts out as a very straight, very white series. And I think that I was echoing a lot of the fantasy that I had grown up on, honestly. And as I gained more confidence as a writer, I began to write the world that was around me. My world is not white and straight. Most people are not surrounded by straight white people and able-bodied people. And I wanted to make sure that this was a universe that welcomed everyone. And I wanted it to feel real and honest. We talk about diversity as if it's something, we're just puppeteering something onto something that already existed, when the truth is, this is what our world looks like, and that should be reflected in our fantasy worlds.
I think it was executed well, because I enjoyed it, and I love seeing queer characters, people of color, like people with different abilities. So I love that.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the questions I have and all the time I have left. But thank you guys so much again for taking the time out to talk to me, and congrats. I can't wait for people to see it.
Thank you.